Welcome to the Multiverse. My name is Jimmy. Some of you know me as Chaos, and we've had some people asking us if we are going to be doing any ranking videos or top 10 videos, and the answer is yes. They will kind of fill in throughout the regular content, the news, the updates, the trailer reactions, all of that. But we're going to kick things off. We're going to do one for you right now, and if you guys enjoy it, make sure to drop a like and let us know what other top 10 list videos you would like. And today, we're going to go over the Multiverse team's picks for heroes that Marvel needs to bring into the MCU sooner than later. So let's get into it. Now, to start things off is a character that was teased a long time ago, actually, during the end credits with the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. But for some reason, we haven't seen any more of him, despite that movie coming out over 2 years ago. Now, I understand the thought process of teasing him, then waiting for after the whole Infinity Saga to end before bringing him in, but still, it's time to get the ball rolling. For those that don't know, Adam Warlock is a character that first appeared in the Fantastic Four issue number 66, all the way back in 1967, where he was simply known as him. But then he was renamed Adam Warlock in April of 1972, in the first issue of Marvel Premiere. He is an extremely powerful cosmic being with the power of flight, magic, superhuman strength, and much, much more. And throughout the years, he has been associated with both the Infinity Watch and the Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, James Gunn stated he wants Adam Warlock to appear in the future Guardian movies, but due to him being introduced as a creation of one of the villains, it's kind of unclear where his allegiance will lie when he's supposedly going to make his debut in Guardians 3. Next up is a no-brainer, Wolverine. Now, Wolverine is one of the most beloved characters in Marvel's lineup, largely thanks to the excellent portrayal by Hugh Jackman himself for close to 2 decades. Hugh Jackman has suggested a few times that he'd be willing to return to the character if he was brought into the MCU, and while it's not set in stone whether or not he meant it, there's a little ray of hope there. Personally, I can't imagine anybody but Hugh playing Wolverine, but I also know Marvel has been great with their casting for the MCU, so if they're going to replace him, I'm sure they could find someone who's at least half as good as Jackman was. Regardless, I think we know that Wolverine is coming to the MCU. I mean, why would Disney buy the Fox properties and not put Wolverine in the MCU? The question is, when are they going to do it, and how will he be introduced? Will he get his own movie, or will he be teased in as a side character? I guess only time will tell, but I think we all know it's inevitable that Wolverine is going to be brought into the cast of the MCU sometime. At number 8, Deadpool. Now, I know Deadpool isn't technically a hero. He's an anti-hero, but he definitely has a lot of heroic moments and characteristics, so let me have this one, all right? Deadpool is an anti-hero who first debuted in 1991 in issue 98 of the New Mutants. At first, he was a straight-up villain, but as time went on, his personality lightened up a bit and he became the fourth wall-breaking anti-hero we all know and love today. While he did start as a villain, he certainly has his own definition of what a moral compass is. Deadpool has been associated with the X-Men, the S.H.I.E.L.D., X-Force, and even certain versions of the Avengers. And the current movie-going superhero fans have seen a lot of Deadpool in the last few years, thanks to him being excellently brought to life by Ryan Reynolds. And after the Disney-Fox acquisition, Ryan has expressed interest in joining the MCU. But it is unclear just how willing Disney and Marvel are to bring in such an R-rated character into the universe. Personally, I think it's possible that we'll get an R-rated Deadpool show that ties into the MCU, kind of like what Marvel has done with Daredevil and Punisher. But then, his involvement in the May movies will be very limited and toned down to fit the PG-13 rating. If that ends up happening, honestly, I don't see a problem with it. The core Deadpool fans want the raunchy R-rated character, and I get it. The wider MCU fans at least get to see him interact with the main cast. That's the important thing. Next up, we have Nova. Despite never appearing in a movie, Nova is still one of the most recognizable heroes in Marvel's lineup thanks to his unique suit and mask. Nova debuted back in '76 in the first issue of the new comic series titled The Man Called Nova. He started as a human from New York City called Richard Ryder. He is given his uniform and his powers by a dying member of the Nova Corps on the planet Xandar, but with hardly any instruction on how to use these new abilities, which led to him having to learn how to be a hero on his own. Throughout the years, he has teamed up with Spider-Man, Thor, the Defenders, the Nova Corps, and has appeared alongside the Guardians of the Galaxy, although he hasn't been a member of the team. Marvel Studios head Kevin Feige has stated he is interested in making a Nova movie and bringing the character into the spotlight, which makes a lot of sense due to the Nova Corps and the planet Xandar playing such a huge role in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, but it's unclear when or how this is going to happen. At number 6 is a no-brainer, the Fantastic Four. Now, they've been treated poorly when it comes to film representation, and I think it's time it needs to be corrected, and so does Kevin Feige. The first Fantastic Four movie was released back in 2005, and it got pretty below average reviews, but it grossed well enough to get a sequel 2 years later. Sequel? Slightly better, but still not that great, and Fox walked away from the license for a few years. Then, in 2015, we got the god-awful reboot that was one of the worst reviewed movies of the year and ended up losing Fox over $100 million. Now, the main problem with the Fantastic Four in movies is that nobody has really portrayed them accurately. They've always either been too cheesy or too serious, but one thing the MCU has always been good at is mixing those two tones together in a way that feels natural, and that's really what the Four needs. The reputation in the world of movies is tainted, but now that Marvel has them, I'm sure they'll be able to incorporate them naturally into the established MCU. Speaking of that, at number 5, Silver Surfer. Yeah, how about one of the most popular side characters? The Silver Surfer first appeared all the way back in 1966 as part of the 48th issue of Fantastic Four, and he quickly gained popularity thanks to his unique design and his incredible power. He can fly at the speed of light, he has super strength, he's a telepath, and he can even travel through time. He can trigger black holes and create pocket universes depending on which version of him we're looking at. Throughout the years, he's teamed up with the Fantastic Four and the Avengers to take on their bigger, more world-threatening enemies, and he's made many enemies of his own as well. He was portrayed pretty well in the second Fantastic Four movie, in my opinion, but there's always room for improvement. If the MCU is going to grow with the addition of the Fox characters, it makes sense for some of the bigger enemies to be introduced and the Silver Surfer to be brought in as a new ally. Raise your hand if you love Gambit. He's kind of a weird case because he was actually supposed to get his own movie, but it seems it was caught in the crossfire during the Disney-Fox negotiations. For those that don't know, Gambit is a fan favorite character from the X-Men series, and he's definitely one of the most recognizable members of the team. He has the ability to summon and wield kinetic energy, which he often charges into playing cards and uses them as his signature weapon. He first appeared in the 1990 issue number 14 of the Uncanny X-Men Annual, and he even got an appearance in the movie X-Men Origins Wolverine, but I wouldn't blame you if you wipe that whole movie from your memory if you want to. Now, back to what I said about his movie. In 2014, the standalone Gambit movie was announced and Channing Tatum was signed on to play the character, but after years of inconsistent development, it was officially canned in May of 2019, around the time Fox and Disney, they were kicking their deal in. The movie was slated for March of 2020, but after Disney acquired Fox and released their updated movie schedule, Gambit was no longer on it, suggesting that Disney had pulled the plug, likely due to the lack of progress and then probably wanting to do something different with that character, which, that is fair. Hopefully, they still plan to bring him into the MCU and they get a good actor for it. Personally, I don't know. What do you think? Do you think Channing Tatum is a good choice or a bad choice? At number 3, Venom. Now, I know Venom isn't technically a hero, but he's been a hero in the past and he definitely has the potential to be heroic, so let's entertain the idea for the fun of it. With Spider-Man being such a massive property, and Sony obviously pushing Venom in the last couple years, I think it would be cool if Disney and Marvel struck a deal, got Spidey back, at which point, maybe they bring Venom in. Venom is such an iconic villain, and he's a staple of Spidey's villain showcase, and I think we all know that within the next few months, Sony and Disney will probably get a new deal done to bring Spidey back into the MCU, because there's no way that Disney lets such a huge moneymaker get away from him, and surely Sony knows that Spidey is way more valuable when he's in the MCU than when he's on his own. But with that being said, the greatest way to bring him back into the MCU would be just to keep continuing his story and eventually bring Venom into the mix and follow his arc in the comics. Venom is introduced as a villain, but as time goes on, he lightens up and eventually becomes kind of an anti-hero and even helps the Avengers out in certain occasions. I think that would be awesome. Venom has had pretty hit or miss representation in movies so far, but if the MCU team was to have a go at him, I don't think we'd be disappointed. Heck, Venom was even once affiliated with the Guardians of the Galaxy. How sick would that be if he was brought into the MCU and then teamed up with the Guardians? At number 2, one of the main members of the X-Men, Cyclops. Been around since the very first issue of the X-Men comic series back in 1963. Often considered to be the face of the X-Men when you factor out Wolverine, Cyclops is a mutant whose eyes blast out powerful energy, which requires him to wear strong eyewear at all times. But throughout the course of his life, he learns to use this energy to his advantage and becomes one of the main leaders of the group. And many people know Cyclops thanks to his portrayal by James Marsden in the X-Men movies, or maybe you're familiar with his younger version, who is portrayed by Ty Sheridan. But the point is, Cyclops is one of the main heroes of the X-Men, and now that Disney has the full rights to this cast, it seems unlikely that they won't bring him into the mix. Now, the real question is, who should play Cyclops? You let me know in the comments. And at number 1, Professor X. I don't think people realize just how much of a wave Professor X can make in the MCU. Charles Xavier is one of the most powerful humans in Marvel's history, and he's definitely shown off that power in the X-Men films. Professor X first appeared in the first issue of X-Men in 1963. He was a wise mentor and a scientific genius on top of being a psychic and a telepath, and he seeks peace for the entire world, regardless of whether you're a human or a mutant, and much of his original character was inspired by Martin Luther King Jr. himself. And Xavier's also the leader of the X-Men. We know that in his school for mutants, and I think we all know he's going to play a big part or role in the MCU once they actually bring the X-Men in. Personally, I think Patrick Stewart should be brought back to play him. When thinking of actors who have brought comic book characters to life, I think Sir Patrick Stewart is definitely high up on the list thanks to his work in the movies. But in recent years, we've been seeing younger versions of Xavier in both the movies and the TV show Legion, so it's unclear if Marvel will want to introduce the X-Men to the MCU with the older Professor X or the younger, more active one. So you tell me, do you think X should be younger or older when he gets to the MCU, and who do you think should play him? And there you have it, my friends. Those are 10 superheroes, anti-heroes, that we think Marvel needs to bring into the MCU sooner than later. If you guys enjoyed this top 10 and you want more, tell us what you want to see, drop a like, make sure you're subscribed, and welcome to the Multiverse.